Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a meeting of the Tulare County Water Commission. Time is 3 o'clock, and I've called the meeting to order. Item 1 on the agenda today is call the meeting to order. Item 2 is public comment. This time, members of the public may comment to the Water Commission regarding any item within our jurisdiction that is not appearing on today's agenda. Public comment can only be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Is there anyone here wishing to address the commission under public comment? Okay, seeing no one, I will close public comment and continue on. Please note the July 14th meeting minutes are located at the following web address. No need for approval there. Item 4 is Disadvantaged Communities Water Update from Denise England, the Grants and Resource Manager of the Tulare County Resource Management Agency. Denise.
On the ones that the county is involved in, and then I'll give a little bit of an overview, not an overview, just an update on the ones we're not involved in, and maybe that's a future agenda item for you all. So we have several different programs. The longest standing is the Disadvantaged Community Integrated Regional Water Management Involvement Program, otherwise known as the DACI program. This dates back to about 2016, 2017. It was a total of $8.4 million. The first tranche of funding was $3.5 million to do some education and outreach, some needs assessment, and project development. And then in 2019, another $5 million was added for drought projects. And so in Tulare County, the projects that either just finished up or are still underway are the East Arosi well site acquisition. I'm going to get into East Arosi a lot more a little later. And then Ducor has a north tank replacement in the amount of $929,500. And then Allensworth has a metering project for $365,000. The balance, this program covered a 5-county region, so the balance of the implementation dollars are in the other counties. So that's Tulare, Kings, Kern, and Fresno counties. The Yedem-Seville Phase 2 is probably the second most long-standing project out there. This is a construction project funded through Prop 1. It's just over $11.5 million. It consists of a test well, and then that would be converted into a supply well and equipping, and then a physical connection between Yedem and Seville, and storage and booster pumps. So currently the test well is out to bid. We had to extend the bid because we did not receive any drillers the first phase. I believe we do now have a driller that's going to bid on that. Once the test well is drilled and we can confirm water quality, then that would be converted to a supply well, equipped, and then all of the rest of the Phase 2 portion would be completed. We've added in this storage and booster pumps because since the time this project started until now, Seville has lost some of their wells. They had a drought well drilled in about 2014, 2015, and the production on that one has diminished. They got another grant to drill another well. However, that test well came in too high for nitrates, and so they had to abandon that project. So we'll be adding additional storage and booster pumps in the community of Seville so that the new supply well can provide water to both communities. Matheny Track, Lone Oaks, and Soltz Track. Matheny Track has been in process since about 2012. I grouped in Lone Oak and Soltz because it's similar project, but it's much newer. Matheny Track is a clean water SRF construction project for just under $25 million. It will connect the 145 homes and 3 commercial properties in Matheny Track to the City of Tulare sewer system. And then it will also abandon those same residential and commercial septic systems. And that will go out to bid in 2026.
Do you assume that construction will take place in 2026 as well, or is it going to be a multi-year construction?
It'll be multi-year, but I would hope that we would be breaking ground probably about early summer,
Okay.
so maybe a little earlier than this next year.
Great.
And then Lono Consults, we've submitted, so we have the funding agreement for Matheny. We've submitted the funding application for Lono Consults in just under $6 million. We don't have that agreement yet, but we've used Clean Water SRF for the planning portion of that, and so that one connects 79 residential parcels also to the city of Tulare's sewer system.
Great.
East Arosi. So in October of 22, the East Arosi and Arosi water systems were ordered to consolidate by the state board. In 2 days later, the county of Tulare was appointed the water system administrator. So currently we have administrator funding through SRF in the amount of $585,923. That covers staff costs, consultants for outreach, postage, noticing, that sort of thing. We are collecting rates for the water service in East Arosi. That pays for most of the operation and maintenance, but we were also provided additional gap funding for that difference between what the rates cover and what it actually costs to operate and maintain the system, and that was in the amount of $199,631. We invoice quarterly for both of these. We've barely touched that O&M funding. The rates, as the water system stands now, pretty much cover the operation and maintenance unless there's some emergency. Earlier this year, we had a contractor that hit a water main, and so that required a repair, and so that quarter we did have a bigger invoice for that funding source. And then June 4th of last year, we executed the expedited drinking water grant. That was through Prop 68 in the amount of just over $13.5 million. It includes a new water supply, which will be drilled on the property that we purchased with the DACI funding. It was previously owned by the Cutler-Arosi Joint Unified School District. It will tie that new water supply into the Arosi PUD water system, and then a new distribution system from the north end of Arosi will be run over to the community of East Arosi, a new distribution system in East Arosi with some tanks and storage and pressure systems, and then the new service connections and meters in East Arosi. So that's the drinking water side. There's 3 different sources of funding plus the rates that we're collecting that are funding that project. In the fall of 2024, the Tulare County Board of Supervisors initiated LAFCO proceedings to annex the Arosi water system, East Arosi water system into the Arosi PUD. That was based on issues around a consolidation agreement, and that action provided a better path forward for the community of East Arosi, and we were hoping to streamline the process of consolidation. And then in June of this year, the county was appointed the sewer system administrator. So the difference between the drinking water administrator and the sewer system administrator is that the only funding available for the activities we're performing as the sewer system administrator will be administrator funding. So it is just staff time related to the administrator duties, not operating and maintaining the system, and we don't have that gap funding. So we're collecting rates. The community just received their first sewer bill this month with their water bill, and that's what is supposed to pay for all of the operation and maintenance for the sewer system there. The county also set aside ARPA funding for sewer maintenance and repair, so understanding that we weren't going to get additional funding from the state. Back in 2022, the emergency in the lift stations occurred, and so we paid about $20,000 with self-help to address that problem. We set aside $50,000 to pump their holding tanks. So the East Arosi sewer system is comprised of these holding tanks that the wastewater flows into, the solids stay back, and then the water portion is collected in the sewer system. So those holding tanks need to be pumped on some regular basis, and so we put aside $50,000 to do that work. and then $32,000 for lift station pump replacement and system cleaning. I will pause on that one because about 2 weeks after we were appointed administrator, we had our first failure at the lift station. That ended up being a vandalism at the meter box. Somebody had cut into the backside of the meter box and flipped the switch. And so that turned off the pumps, causing a backup into the closest home. So we were able to address that. Of course, it happened like on a Thursday night. So over the weekend, we were able to address that. Then 2 Mondays ago, same thing happened. The nearest house called and said they were getting a backup. So the operator went out and one of the pumps wasn't working. We got a pump company out to pull the pump. Something had chewed up the pump, and so I authorized the replacement of that pump. The second pump, same thing, and then also the floats were not working. So we've authorized, and in the meantime, when that lift station is down, the sewage has to be pumped into a truck and hauled to the Cutler-Rossi wastewater treatment facility. So I authorized all of that work, and we're going to try to get it under federal procurement, but it's still probably over the $32,000. So we have sent off to the state board requesting if there's any sort of emergency funding. We did get a little bit of money from the district, whatever was left in their bank account, but obviously these things can get really expensive really quickly. And so we're not sure if the lift station has been subject to vandalism or what's really going on. I also authorized a fence to be built around the lift station to secure it a little bit better because right now it's just out in the open. And then in the expedited drinking water grant, like I said, we've already purchased the property from Cutler-Rossi Joint Unified School District. It is out to bid. Currently, the bid opening is slated for August 28th. Then we have 90 days for contracting. And so the notice to proceed will come late this year, early next year, and we have 550 days allocated for construction. So hopefully that will be underway soon. West Goshen and Avenue 266, these are both Cal Water consolidations. They both have funding through the DWR Small Community Drought Relief Program. West Goshen is just over 3.4 million. It includes 53 residential connections. There is an option to destroy private wells. It's currently in construction. Once construction is wrapped up, we'll evaluate how much money is left and if we can get into those private wells to properly abandon them. We do have 2 residents that are interested in having their wells abandoned, and hopefully, if we have sufficient funding, we can get a few more property owners on board with that. And then Avenue 266 Harrison Road, this is the little neighborhood across from the old Liberty School on the corner of Mooney Boulevard and Avenue 264. It also is funded through DWR Small Community Drought Relief, but we also had ARPA money set aside for this one. This one was a project that came in like 2014, 2015, but the cost was higher than what anybody wanted to pay back then, any funding sources wanted to pay, and so we kind of shelved it. So we were able to bring this one back out. It will connect 27 residential connections, and then we also have the option to destroy private wells. We hope to put this one out to bid in September. And then the county set aside significant ARPA funding for a number of communities. Pixley PUD, it was a water main extension under Highway 99, that was at $2 million. Ivanhoe PUD, wastewater treatment facility upgrades at $650,000. Poplar CSD, they needed gap funding for a well, $499,000. All 3 of those projects are completed. The remainder, Tipton CSD, North Burnett Road, which was a road that was connected temporarily, they received a permanent connection, and I believe the water main is complete, and now the service lines are underway, or they may be completed. They're done? Okay, Self-Help was leading the way on the service connection. So that project is done. We should receive the final invoice for that. They also needed wastewater treatment facility upgrades in the amount of $296,000. That's about halfway complete. And then well number 6 at 1.7, I believe they have finally awarded a contract for that. So that's underway. Strathmore PUD received $223,000 for storage tank repair. We have not received any invoices on this one. We visited the district. They were supposed to get a structural engineer out to take a look, and we've let them know that this money sunsets in December of 26 and it needs to be spent. Same for Arosi PUD, well number 5. This was a generator to be installed on that well for power outages, $500,000 for that one. Cutler PUD, well 11, this was to equip a well that the state board had paid to drill, $700,000. That one as well, we've not received any invoicing for, and we've let the district know that they need to get that underway. And then the Chenoweth fire hydrant in the amount of $38,000. That is underway. It actually may have already been done. We just haven't been invoiced for it yet. That's a Cal Water hydrant outside of some apartments that were consolidated during the drought. I talked about Avenue 266 consolidation with Cal Water. That is out, will be out to bid soon. And then in early March, we set aside $1.6 million for a sewer interceptor and just under $500,000 for the Front Street well. I'll come back to early March in just a second. We had funding returned. The Strathmore PUD, we had provided just over $2 million for a well and nitrate treatment that was going to be in cooperation with Sierra View Healthcare District. Strathmore PUD chose not to move forward with that project. Early March PUD had a sound wall with in the amount of $75,000. They also chose, despite our best efforts, to not move forward with that project. To offset those differences, the county added $2.5 million for deferred maintenance for our zones of benefit. Those are the county water and sewer systems that we own and operate, and so they had a large amount of deferred maintenance that needed to be done, and so we added that in to take advantage of this funding. Early March. So we also, these are federal earmarks. So we, through the federal earmark process, we secured just over $1.2 million for that early March sewer interceptor project and $1.7 million for the Front Street well project. So between the ARPA and the earmark is how those projects would be fully funded. Woodville PUD well equipping, I didn't come back and put the dollar amount in there, but it was in the $1.5 million range. We asked for 2.5 and we got about half. And then Allensworth solar study is $350,000. This would allow the community of Allensworth to look at installing solar to offset their electricity costs to provide more affordable service in that district. And then $700,000 for a sewer study for the community of Traver. Then we also received just under $400,000 for the Tulare Subbasin Community Water Security Project. This is a feasibility study for the Tulare Subbasin communities to share a water resource. So it was looking at a South County potential surface water project, and that Four Creeks has that contract in there. Underway looking at that. So early March, at the request of a board member, we were asked to help early March spend their money. And so, as I mentioned before, they had a sewer interceptor project and a Front Street well project that we had got significant money for them to complete. And it was becoming very clear that this money was not being spent. And so one of my grant specialists and I went down to early March to figure out what is happening. And we uncovered a bunch. So the outcome is the Front Street well project, which is a 123 TCP treatment on the Front Street well. The district has the plans and specs completed for that. They put it out to bid. So they will continue with that project. We will keep a very close eye on it and make sure that the money gets spent in a timely manner and that project is completed. The sewer interceptor project, the district received a Clean Water SRF planning grant back in 2021 to complete a feasibility study, preliminary engineering report, and environmental in the amount of $460,000. The district failed to do any work under that grant. So I think the intent was to get everything ready for the interceptor project so that when the ARPA money and the earmark money showed up, that project was shovel ready and ready to go out to bid. That did not happen. So we are walking away from the $460,000 because to get the state involved, it would just take a lot longer, and we have to spend this 1.6 of ARPA money before December of 2026. So we have gone out to RFP for an engineering consultant. We've hired a consultant. He will design the project and get all the permits underway, and we will go out to bid hopefully next summer and get this first tranche of ARPA money spent before December. And then the earmark money will come in, and that money has a much longer time frame, but that is where we are. Early Mart has additional funding for a J well, a clay well, and then they are going to apply for additional planning funding to look at their wastewater treatment facility. I don't know how the state board is going to view that if they have $460,000 sitting out there in planning funding that they're not spending. So Early Mart has been a very big issue, a lot of red flags, and we're coming from a place where there was a lot of money for communities and these projects, and we're moving into a place where we're probably not going to have a lot of money. And so we want to make sure that the money that is currently out there is getting spent, and that these projects, more importantly, that the projects are getting done so that these communities are more sustainable and in good condition, so that the county is not going to be asked to be administrator for them in the future.
Well, since you called me out, let me just comment a little bit on the Early Mart situation. So for all of the years that I've represented Early Mart, there has always been a feeling in the community that, you know, they've been held back. You know, why don't we have this? Why don't we have this? And, you know, so much of what has gone on there circles back to the PUD. We come in as a county, we collaborate with the school district, we put together a multi-million-dollar grant, as well as county general fund dollars to get the community a new park. They didn't really have one large park in the community. We got that done, and it's a tremendous asset, although we didn't build a bathroom at the time, so we're working on that now. But great resource in the community. Well, the school has always been a partner in Early Mart. What is the school facing as their biggest crisis right now is the fact that their ADA is going down. Well, why is their ADA going down? Because people are aging in their homes and not moving out of the community, and having younger generations coming back with school-aged children. So the problem is there's no growth, there's no residential development, and no commercial development, no new jobs being created. So what is the resolution to that? Well, it goes back to infrastructure, and that infrastructure is wastewater infrastructure as well as water infrastructure. So we go out, we do a lot of work, we get this, you know, about $5 million, rough math, of federal and state dollars to come in and to help bring transformational infrastructure to the community. And we're at risk of losing it all if it's not spent. And this really came to a head this spring of this past year. And, you know, everyone in the community points to the community service, or the PUD. Who's the PUD elected by? Well, the PUD elected board members are told certain stories by hired individuals, and it just kind of keeps going. It's a vicious cycle. So what did we ultimately do? We said, we're going to come in and we're going to take over, and we're going to get these projects done. And it's unfortunate we're going to be losing close to $500,000. However, if we're able to preserve, you know, $3+ million, especially actual projects getting done, that's worth sacrificing the $460,000. And I'm hoping that we can maybe have some conversations with the funding agency to maybe get an extension or something with the $460,000, which probably won't even cover what it was originally designed to cover when it was first passed. But Rogelio, you want to say anything? You live in Early Mart.
Yes, that's called out too. Yeah, no, everything you said is true. That's been a very common complaint from the residents. You know, pretty much all my life. Sewage, water expansion, why, not too long ago, people were asking, why haven't new homes been built? If you think back to even the White River Plaza project, the difficulty there, they had to put in septic tanks because they wouldn't have connection. What Supervisor Vanderpool was referring to of that park was getting them to connect to the park. That alone itself was an issue. And just the frustration from a town that's growing, it's, right off the 99, there's been some businesses that have come in. It's the last town in Tulare County before going to Kern County. There's been businesses that have been interested of coming in and building there. And the only problem has been water and sewer, being able to connect, water pressure. The infrastructure is older. And so the community has definitely felt like we've been held back. So when we heard news about all this funding coming in for this, everybody's been really excited. But just recently, because of the lack of action, that frustration has turned into a why. Why hasn't it happened? And if you recall, Supervisor, the last meeting that the board met in Early Mart at the school district's boardroom, that was a common comment from the folks that were there. And so appreciate the county stepping up and doing this, getting these things for the folks that live there, and hopefully see a brighter future with what we can get. That money goes a long way in these towns, and so we're very appreciative.
And I just, this is the community I'm most familiar with. I mean, all of my communities on this list, I'm very familiar. We just don't have this level of problems in the other communities. But, I wanted to specifically have this highlighted, and thank you, Denise, for going into such detail specifically on Early Mart, because I think this is an example to our Water Commission of what these water and infrastructure projects mean in our rural unincorporated communities in this county. So, we live this and breathe it each and every day, and I just appreciate our staff, you and the Resource Management Agency team that are dedicated to making sure that these infrastructure projects get done throughout the county.
And I will mention, in digging through what was out there for Early Mart, we did kind of stumble across a number of clean water SRF and drinking water SRF and technical assistance funding agreements that are out in our communities currently, and a lot of them have had no action. So I didn't include those today because those aren't ones we're really involved in, and we're still trying to get our arms around which communities, where, how much, that sort of thing. I know Woodville is a community that has such a agreement out there that's nothing's happened with through the state board. And so I'm happy to package that up at a future date and bring that as well, and maybe even have State Water Board come talk a little bit about the challenges they're facing, because in the past we've had trouble getting money into the county, and now it's here and it's not getting spent. Yeah.
All right, any other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I would just say that for Early Mart specifically, we have an approved hotel that was just ready to go, and that's not hooking up. The White River Plaza, I mean, that took a fantastic start back there in 2015 with the McDonald's, Dollar General, and the AutoZone, and there was going to be a market, and there's going to be a coffee place, and there's going to be some other things. That's all just been put on hold because of this. So there's a lot of interest in there, but I find specifically Early Mart, but it seems like some of those others that you were highlighting seem similar. Strathmore, as far as that, there's a lot of development opportunities in Strathmore, and the PUD is just kind of walking away from ability to bring a housing tract in there and a medical clinic. And you see that up in the Rosie and Color area as well. So it's a challenge for the economic development side because of the lack of infrastructure. And then when you see, like Denise mentioned, there's money available and then they're not taking any action on it, that just makes it, that's just making it worse. I mean, it's like spitting in your eye when you finally achieve and get money and then they don't act on it. Is there a common denominator in most of these places?
Now, we don't need to go out calling certain people or individuals, so. But thank you for that, and then thank you for your comment. Any additional comments? Go ahead, Trustee Snyder. Commissioner Snyder.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to offer my appreciation for seeing all of the projects together in one place. I mean, I literally knew about every single one of these, but it's still amazing to see them all listed out. And Tulare County should feel really good about its leadership in helping its disadvantaged communities achieve their infrastructure projects. My organization works in 9 San Joaquin Valley counties, and Tulare County is far and away the most productive, the most assertive, the most forward-thinking, and the most helpful to communities, and has been repeatedly shown that it's willing to take on funding obligations, willing to take on administratorship, which is a huge deal, and many other things. So I just wanted to congratulate and appreciate staff and leadership of the county, because it really is outstanding work. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Any other comments? Okay.
I think
Commissioner Quinley?
Yeah, there's a theme I'm hearing here. The state or federal government provide much-needed funding. You listed out a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's another example of that, though. I mean, the state gave, in the Tulare subbasin, every subbasin got about $7.5 million 4 years ago of grant money, and in the Tulare subbasin, there's still like $5 million of free money that hasn't been spent. And I think that, I think that there's a credibility issue that we face when we ask for things, when we're given funding, and then things don't get done or built. And the Department of Water Resources is ready to pull that money back. That's funding that was supposed to help people.
Can any of that money be used on sewer or water projects?
I don't know about.
I'm being
sewer.
sarcastic. I mean, I'm just saying, we've got needs, but.
Water projects, certainly, but I mean, we're at the 11th hour on this thing.
I know.
We already got a 1-year extension on that grant. And again, from a credibility perspective, the state is telling us, well, you haven't even gotten projects done in the extra year. You need more time to not spend our money?
Yeah, it's
So,
too bad.
lost opportunity. And other good projects that were ranked highly in the initial ranking that were taken off could have benefited from this money.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you for that presentation, Denise. I thought that was a lot of good info. Item 5 is the drought update.
Excuse me just a second. My slides are a little bit out of order. Okay. Okay, we have our 2025 table updated. We're kind of staying consistent for the month of July with 39 total well permits with a net of 20. There was 19 destructions in the month of July. When you compare that to last year, it's pretty much on par, but when you get back to, 2022, July and August, we had significantly more permits being issued. That's, I think, a result of both drought conditions and then also SGMA and restrictions on well drilling. And we do have environmental health here if anybody's got any questions.
Questions or comments regarding the drought update or wells? All right. Environmental health gets off easy. Yeah.
Then we have our tanked and haul water program. There were no new tanks installed in the month of July, 976 in the overall program. We have 1,700 households enrolled in bottled water. 209 of those are drought related and the remainder are contamination related. And Jesse, I don't know if you have any updates on the funding. I know that it was being pulled back to state board. I don't know if that's still the plan.
No, it sounds like they've turned around, actually, and there's a verbal commitment for additional funding. which I'm not sure how long that will last us, but it is a significant commitment. So things are looking a lot better on that front, although they are not finalized. There's no contract, but things are definitely looking better. And they're also kind of backing off somewhat on the notion that they wanted to be involved in all of the approvals. That seems to have turned a little bit of a corner as well. So we think things are looking better on that front.
That's great.
I have a question on the bottled water program. How do these compare to June? I know we only have 1 month
So
shelf.
these are rolling totals. So this isn't just July, this is who was enrolled in July, but people come in and come out. So it's not necessarily the same households. Many of them are, but it's not necessarily the same. It's people are in and out. And then this does not include the management zone, water quality-based enrollments,
Okay, good to know.
because some of those.
In terms of how much delivery everyone gets, that kind of thing, that kind of data? Yeah, we can get it. Sure.
The per household amount is capped by the state board. So, because we used to have the program and then self-help graciously took it over from us. It was great. But they're limited in the amount that they can deliver to each household based on the funding agreement that they have.
Are any of the bottled water programs and tanks and all that on the wait list or on a list to look at for possible these other types of DAC funding?
So the tanked and hauled water program has a limit. I think in the document it's a 12-month limit to get a solution. But I think if you're working on a solution, there's a little bit of wiggle room. And so, yes, so like, for example, the Avenue 266 Harrison Road project that I was talking about, there's a few tanks in that community. So once Cal Water's water main has been extended through there, then those tanks go away and folks can get off the bottled water program. I don't think the same limit applies to the bottled water program, though. I think they can be on it as long as they need it. Yeah.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, now we'll move on to item 6, legislative subcommittee reports.
Excuse me. So we met on Wednesday, June 4th, and we went over the legislative platform sections as well as our list. We have a meeting scheduled for September 3rd, although I don't know if we'll actually meet because now we're in the final hours of this portion of the legislative process. And so September 5th is the last day for bills to be amended on the floor, and then September 12th is the last day for bills to pass. And then shortly thereafter, the governor has to sign them. I know some have made it through because there's been a few announcements I've seen, but that's kind of the schedule for the end of the year. And then these haven't changed since our last meeting. So I don't know if anybody had any specific comments
Questions,
on any
comments
of these.
on any of the legislative items? All right, I'll see where these things end up going. Okay, now we'll move on to staff reports. Item 7, discussion possible action regarding item A, Sigma implementation.
So same update for the Tulare Subbasin as last time. The county and Hope and Ducor Water District entered into a JPA to form a new Tulare GSA after everybody left the Eastern Tulare, except for City of Porterville still, like they haven't done anything yet. And also the legislative fix that will prevent folks from leaving a JPA in the future, that's moving forward as well. We expect that to be signed, and so they're kind of running parallel. Those are the only updates I have. I know we have several GSA managers here, if anybody wants to provide updates.
All right, Commissioner Quinley?
I'll just note that the Department of Water Resources recently came out with their best management practices related to subsidence. And so that's in draft during the comment period, which closes in September. Pretty clear direction, at least in the draft guidance, as it relates to subsidence and critical infrastructure and impacts related to SIGMA implementation. So if you haven't read it yet and you're wanting to know what's coming, it's definitely interesting read.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from GSA managers? All right. We will now move on to the next item, which is commission terms.
So everybody we're a fully staffed commission now, or fully seated commission, so we don't have to worry about seats until April of next year, which will be here probably before we know it.
The only person that has to worry about a seat is Commissioner Quinley, but that's why we got to get here early.
Yeah, that's why I was
Your
like, I
microphone
remember we
works
used to
down
have
there,
to
so you're
put,
fine.
yeah, I think it has to stay that way too
Just
because
have
of
to
the
sit next to
computers.
Matt.
I can be co
We used to cram everybody on the dais, but that's not really going to work anymore with the computers.
All right, we'll talk to IT about that. Okay, now on to item C, commission requirements.
And this actually is no longer true because this got submitted this morning, so everybody has their wonderful Form 700s in.
You were really excited to have to highlight one person on that, right?
It was Elva. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you don't want to put names on there. Good, I'm glad. I'm glad we got it done.
Yep.
All
So
right.
that's all that I have.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, now on to item 8. This is commissioners' comments. Does anybody have anything for the good, bad, or otherwise of the order? Nope. All right. Okay, now we'll go on to item 9, future agenda topics. Does anyone have anything that they would like discussed at a future water commission meeting?
We refreshed the tribal water rights presentation.
So we've had a difficult time getting a hold of Mr. DeGroot to
Okay.
commit, so
I'll
if
talk with you
anybody
afterwards.
has a connection?
Yeah,
we would really appreciate it.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or another contact I can give.
Appreciate the follow-up on that. All right, now on to next meeting. Next meeting is scheduled for September 8th, 2025. And we'll now move on to, let's see, Commissioner Riddle's favorite item on every water commission agenda, and that's adjournment. Thank you for attending at today's meeting. Yeah, appreciate it. Take care.